again, America. Headline News is back with live continuous coverage on the race to the White House. It is still early in the evening, and the candidates remain neck and neck. Based on exit poll data that we've acquired, we can report on results in a handful of the major battleground states.
Vice President Al Gore has taken Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Illinois, among others. Governor George Bush has carried Ohio, Tennessee, and Missouri, among others. At this point, all eyes are on the state of Florida. Its electoral college results will decide the presidency.
Headline News is now ready to make a major projection. According to estimations that we've just received, we can assume that Vice President Al Gore will take the state of Florida. This paves him an easy path to the presidency.
Due to new data, we're being forced to retract our prediction from earlier this evening. Governor George Bush has now taken the lead over Vice President Al Gore. It looks as if we are in for a longer night than we may have expected. We will keep you updated as we receive more detail.
Headline News is once again ready to make a final projection. As the state of Florida finishes its first vote counts, Governor George Bush has taken a substantial lead. We now again predict that Bush will win the presidency.
Mr. Bush, I've been keeping an eye on the news and just recently received an update on Florida from my aides. I'd like to formally concede and congratulate you on your victory. It was a fight well fought, sir.
Thank you, Al. Appreciate the call. Quite the race, without a doubt.
Due to another shocking turn of events, Headline News is now retracting the previous presidential prediction. As results from the very last exit polls were counted, it was found that only 1,000 votes now separate the two candidates. It appears that Vice President Al Gore is still in the running for the White House.
George, it's Al, again. I was on my way to give the concession speech when I heard the news. Looks like we might have a race on our hands, after all.
Let me make sure I understand. You're calling me to retract your concession?
Yep.
When results were officially released in late November, it appeared that George Bush had beaten Al Gore by 537 votes in the state of Florida. The next day, Gore filed a suit against Florida and the vote tallies.
As a result, the Florida Supreme Court ordered the manual recounting of all ballots. Just yesterday, December 12th, the U.S. Supreme Court overruled this decision, saying that a full manual recount couldn't be conducted in compliance with the requirements of equal protection and due process without substantial additional work.
So tonight, Vice President Al Gore has decided to concede the election once and for all. He made the announcement in a national address from Washington, D.C.
Tonight, for the sake of our unity, of the people, and the strength of our democracy, I offer my concession. I promised Governor Bush that I would not call him back this time. I also offered to meet with him as soon as possible so that we can start to heal the divisions of the campaign and the contest through which we have just passed.
America finally has a new president, George W. Bush.
They underestimated the compassion of our country. I think they underestimated the will and determination of the commander-in-chief, too. There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, "Fool me once, shame on shame on you. It fooled me. We can't get fooled again. I also want to tell a story. And here's the story. My dad, like many of your folk who got relatives here, many of you whose relatives did the same thing, you're here, their relatives probably aren't. He says, quote, these programs, he said the program, quote, the program, quote, does not emphasize. He has a little trouble with the English.
Without a doubt, the relationship between the government and our citizens was weakened by this ordeal. This election showed that major conflict in managing even the election of the president was possible. People lost confidence in the stability of our government. Also, the shaky message was projected to foreign countries. These events proved to the world that even the great United States, the superpower, was still vulnerable to uncertainty in issues of government.
One of the major issues in this race was the problem with machine counting votes versus manually counting them. Were there moral issues involved, like counting fraud on the parts of the voting offices? Possibly. Ethically speaking, Al Gore did what he knew was best for the good of his country in conceding. He wanted to put an end to the dispute and save the country from further issues.
I'm Ron Burgundy, and you stay classy, America.
I'm George W. Bush, and I approve this message.